it in fact puts things in the wrong place, then can you really have a just system? People perhaps will accept it because there is the feeling of justice, of equity, that they are being dealt with fairly. But ultimately, that is still going to perpetrate in its end injustice. However just the people are who want to implement it, if the laws and the system itself is unjust, then the end result is going to be a negative one. It is going to be a disastrous one ultimately. What I won't use the word proof, but what I do want to try and establish today is two things. First of all, that the laws of Islam, the Sharia, the Islamic law is not only just, but it is in fact the only truly just system. And the second thing that I want to establish is that Islam seeks to nurture and encourage and drives the true believer to be just in and of him or herself. So let's just talk about the first thing. There are no shortage of verses from the Quran, statements from the Prophet, and examples from the lives of his companions to show how Islam teaches, preaches, enjoins justice, and forbids and admonishes and commands to fight against injustice. So let's just go through a few of those verses. I've eliminated quite a lot, so I've been quite selective here. I'm not going to be comprehensive. This is just to give an overview. For example, let us take Surah Al-Nahl, which is the 16th surah or the 16th chapter of the Quran. If we look in verse 90, the meaning of the verses say, Allah commands doing justice. God commands doing justice, doing good to others and giving to near relatives, and He forbids indecency, wickedness and rebellion. He admonishes you so that you may take heed. And in Surah Al-Hajj, which is the 22nd chapter of the Quran, in the 41st verse, so verse 41, these are the people who, if we establish them in authority in the land, they will establish prayer and pay the poor due, the zakah, and enjoin justice and forbid evil. And the final decision of all affairs is in the hands of Allah, in the hands of God. And again in Surah Al-Imran, which is the 3rd surah in the 25th ayah, it states, warn those who deny Allah's revelations, slay the prophets without any justification, and kill those from among the people who enjoin justice about the news of a painful punishment. Meaning, warn those people who slay the prophets and kill the people who enjoin justice. Warn them of a punishment. And again in Surah An-Nisa, which is the 4th surah, we find in the 135th verse, O you who believe, stand firm for justice. Stand firm for justice. And this is actually a very strong verse of the Quran talking about justice. O you who believe, stand firm for justice and bear true witness for the sake of God, even though it is against yourselves. So the Quran tells us to stand firm upon justice, to speak the truth, even if it is going to be against yourself. When you witness truthfully, even if it is against yourself, your parents, your relatives. And it does not matter whether the party is rich or poor. Allah is the well-wisher of both, so do not let your selfish desires swerve you from justice. If you distort your testimony or decline to give it, then you should remember that Allah is fully aware of your actions. And Ibn Kathir, was one of the famous commentators on the Quran. He mentioned an incident where one of the Prophet's companions, his name was Abdullah ibn Rawaha, he was sent to collect the jizya. The jizya is a tax that is taken from non-Muslims who live in the land of the Muslims, okay, under the protection of the Muslims. So he sent this Abdullah, the Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, sent this Abdullah ibn Rawaha to collect the tax from the Jews of Khaybar, okay. And when he came to them, they tried to bribe him. They tried to bribe him and they said to him, go easy on us. And so this Abdullah, he said, by Allah, there is no one who is more beloved to me than the Prophet Muhammad. May God's peace and blessings be upon him. And I have come from the Prophet Muhammad, who is the most beloved to me. Yet my love for him and my hatred for you. And he actually said that you are more despicable to me than some despicable creatures. But I would never let my hatred for you cause me to do you injustice. Meaning the fact that I hate you, the fact that I hate you is not going to make me treat you in a way that is unjust. I'm not going to treat you in a bad way. Because why? Do not let your hatred of a people, the Quran tells us, do not let your hatred of a people cause you to do them injustice. This is the command of the Quran. And when the Jews heard that, they said, verily this is the justice upon which the heavens and the earth, it rests on this type of justice. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is what the Creator tells us in the Quran. Okay, and again a similar surah, in a similar place, in a similar verse in Surah Al-Ma'idah this time, which is the 5th surah in the 8th, it says, O you who believe, be steadfast for the sake of God and bear true witness, and let not the enmity of a people incite you to do injustice. Do justice. That is piety. That is nearer to piety. But when it says that is nearer to piety, it actually means that is piety. Okay? And fear Allah, for surely Allah is fully aware of all of your actions. And Ibn Kathir again, he mentions an incident connected with this, where a man came, one of his companions came to the Prophet, and he wanted to make the Prophet witness that he was going to give one of his child a gift. So when he came, the Prophet said, are you going to give all of your other children the same gift? So he said, no. He said, I will not bear witness to an injustice. You must treat all of your children equally. And even this, that this man wanted to give one child a gift from his children that he was not giving to the others, and he wanted the Prophet to witness that. And he refused. He said, I'm not going to witness that because that is injustice. This is what Ibn Kathir mentions in relation to that. And also in Surah Al-Araf, which is the 7th Surah 1, verse 199, the Quran says, show forgiveness, speak for justice, and avoid the ignorant people. Now, there are also some narrations from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, mentioning the great benefits of those, or the great station of those people who implement justice. And we have examples from the Prophet Muhammad's own life where he showed the nature, how he was very just. So for example, the Prophet Muhammad, he said, behold, the dispensers of justice will be seated on thrones of light beside God, on the right side of the merciful, exalted and glorious. And he said, the dispensers of justice are those who do justice in their rules, in matters relating to their families, and in all that they undertake to do. So, meaning the dispensers of justice who behave justly in every matter, whether it's their family, whether the rulings they give, and in fact all matters in their life, they behave in a manner that is just. And here is an incident from the life of the Prophet, which really shows, and we will also now see how this example of the Prophet physically really manifested itself in the behavior of those Muslims who were with him, the companions. Okay, so there is an example from a tribe there was a woman from one tribe, from Bani Makhzum, and she had stolen. So they were thinking, some of the people were thinking, who is going to go to the Prophet and intercede on her behalf? Meaning, because they didn't want the penalty of having her hand chopped off to be implemented on her, because she was from this strong tribe. So